welcome back to the Me, Myself, and Hopefully You podcast. My name is Tariq, a 19-year-old university student currently experiencing a midlife crisis. Why, you might ask? Because I have no idea what I want to do with my life. University first year during COVID hasn't been the best, as we probably all know. So I thought, why not do something on the side and be a bit creative for once in my life? I've always felt like my imagination has just sort of disappeared at like 4 years old. And so this is a way for me to be creative and maybe bring some value to your life. And hopefully, by learning about the stories of the different people that I have the privilege to sit with, I can hopefully create a story for myself as well. Now, speaking of stories, this man has created a story for himself, the guest I have. Is essentially living the dream in the sense that he's doing what he wants to do or what he loves, and he gets paid for it. He is a professional poker player. He holds a world record for live streaming 1,000 hours of playing poker in 100 days. Every stream, that's on average, every stream, 10 hours. I don't know how he managed to do that. He did that consecutively. And I asked him why he would take up such a challenge and what it was like to win over $20,000 in one night. We also discussed his connection with the Hillsborough Disaster, which took away 96 lives, and how he managed to predict all the way back when he was age 11 in his yearbook. I feel like people in the UK don't do yearbooks anymore. Maybe this was like the last sort of time that they did it. But when he was 11 years old, he wrote in his yearbook that he wanted to play poker in Las Vegas. And guess what? He was doing it for his 21st birthday, which is just incredible. Anyway, I could spend an hour just telling you about how great this podcast was. It was one of, if not my favorite podcast that I've recorded. So, Lucas, I just want to start off with some quick fire questions just to get the ball rolling. My first question is a bit of a random one. What's the last picture on your camera roll?
Last picture on my camera roll? Oh, this might not be good because I went out last night.
I know you were saying. I was thinking that.
Last picture is. Is there any way for me to show it, or just?
Yeah, you can show it to the web camera if you
want. So it's me. This is this is the first time. So I've done a challenge, 1,000 hours in 100 days. So I didn't see my friends in like 4 months. So this was the first night we had a barbecue in my garden. So that was me. My mate sent me it to last night. That was me in the apron cooking a barbecue with my best mate.
Yeah, I've never actually had a barbecue, you know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, never had one. We as a family, we've never really had one, and I've just never gone to somewhere with a barbecue. So I need to actually try a barbecue. I've heard they're great things.
I'm sure you will in the summer with the Euros and stuff like that. Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I mean that is the plan. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I want to get one of those, those temporary ones that you can.
Yeah.
Those like £10 ones. I want to try one of those.
They're not as good. Them. They're a good start if you've never had one, but they don't taste as good.
Well, I've heard like as in with like proper barbecues, like the wood that you use to burn it like has an impact on like the flavor of the meat and all that other stuff. So I've heard it's like quite a complicated process. It's quite overwhelming when I was looking at it.
That was the first one that I'd done. Like my dad set it up. He had like a gas one, so it wasn't any wood, fortunately. So yeah, I think the wooden ones are like a lot more serious and a lot more they take time to prepare. That was just the gas. You just put some gas on and then it kind of lights it up fire. But even that was the first one I'd ever done. So yeah. The tip that my mum said, you cook the likes of the chicken and stuff like that in the oven first, just so you kind of just like they're fully cooked, because obviously chicken if you eat it raw it's dangerous. So
but then won't you just burn it and won't it be dry if you cook it again on the barbecue?
Yeah, I mean, I think because you have to like you season it and stuff like that with like we all put like hot wing sauce and stuff on it, so not too bad. But it's weird. Yeah, you think that it would go dry, but it doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do want to try a barbecue. And hopefully I do soon. My next quick fire question is: who would you consider as your role model in life?
It's a good question. Probably my dad. My dad, in like in terms of if it was like if it was family, then my dad, because he like my two biggest like things in life is Liverpool. Like I'm from Liverpool. We're still got season tickets, even though we live in the Isle of Man and grew up in Liverpool kids playing football since I was like 2 years old, and then obviously as I got older, then it became to poker. So if I wouldn't be now a poker pro without my dad, because he was the one that kind of got me into that, and and we kind of just do still everything together, go to match together, go poker events together. If I was talking about like celebrity wise or famous person, probably say growing up it was like Steven Gerrard. If I was like, again, that's just because I'm a big Liverpool fan, and he was like that like role model because he was a Scouser and he kind of just achieved his dream of he was just a normal lad from Liverpool. We played for Liverpool, and I got to a point where I knew I wasn't going to play for Liverpool, but I've achieved my like second biggest dream of becoming a poker pro and gotten sponsored. And so yeah, again, just a normal lad from Liverpool to achieve one of his dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely get on to hopefully a bit of football and hope to talk a bit more about Pete. I think your dad's name is.
Yeah.
And sort of the impact that he's had in his life. I'm a United supporter, so we would have actually played yesterday.
Yeah,
so it would have been quite interesting to talk about. But obviously, with everything that happened, well, we don't really have a game to talk about. But I definitely do want to bring it up just because this is probably the only season in the next 10 years that Liverpool will do worse than United. So I need to just make sure that I push it as much as possible. The fact that you'll be in the Europa Conference League next year will just make me just puts a big smile on my face. My final question, my final quick fire question to you is: if there was a house fire and everyone was saved, and you have your phone and your laptop, because everyone keeps their phone and the laptop on them, but you can only keep one other item, what would that item be?
Good question. I've got it right here, actually. There's a nice little story about this, which many people probably don't know, but this is my uncle's wallet. My uncle, unfortunately, he was one of the 96. He died in Hillsborough when he was 17 years old. So this is his wallet. And my dad's, I always had it growing up, and my dad had it when he moved to the Isle of Man, and he gave me we'll talk more into detail about the challenge, but basically on day 98 I'd done 100 days in a row. Things weren't going too well throughout the challenge in terms of like money wise, and then he gave me this wallet on day 97. Day 96 I think he gave me on day 96. I was like, I thought something was going to happen then. And then day 98 I won like a big pot. He gave me this wallet the day before, day 96, and day 98 I won this big pot to basically place like first out of 96 people, and I knew I just kind of touched it and I ended up winning 22,000 in that tournament. So ended up being in like 24,000 profit. So yeah, it's funny that you say that because my dad's literally just given me this a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, it's my uncle's wallet from Hillsborough. Yeah.
I didn't know that about your uncle and Hillsborough.
I think not many people do, probably, to be honest.
I'm really interested in that. That's not something that I found out. I'm really interested in that. And if you don't mind, I'd like to, weirdly, I'd like to start on that a little bit.
Sure.
Because the Hillsborough thing, it was the disaster was incredible. And I wasn't. I don't even. To be fair, I don't. What year was it?
Oh, year-wise, it was well before my. I think it's been. It was well before I was born. 1989. So yeah, I was born in 97. Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in 2001, so I never sort of obviously knew. I didn't know about it until only a few years ago. I think when I started to grow and learn more about football. And there's always been that sort of thing with obviously the Sun newspaper in Liverpool and the 96. And even though I one of the things that I sort of feel that football is united around is their hate and for the Sun newspaper, and it makes me feel a bit physically sick even saying the name. For someone that doesn't know much about the Hillsborough disaster, what could you explain to me what the Sun actually did, and maybe for the young viewers as well and the listeners, what the Sun newspaper did that basically made the entire of English football hate them, specifically Liverpool?
Yeah, sure. So obviously Hillsborough disaster happened, and at the time, kind of people didn't really know what had happened, and there was a lot of even this. It's been 30 years, and it was only the last few years where the inquest kind of said that it was actually the police's fault, and it was the main kind of like David Duckenfield was like the main police manager, and there was a big like cover up basically. They basically blamed the fans and basically said that the fans was the problem behind Hillsborough, and the Sun at the time, newspaper kind of leaked a story where they were like, the fans were like, it was the fans' fault. The fans were robbing off each other. The fans were like just doing all this like crazy stuff. And they just kind of posting the lies, and there's kind of this big massive like cover up story, and it's only, and like so my family have been fighting for justice for years, and like I said, my uncle was 17,
Wow.
and it was just horrible. And but people like a lot. So like I said, a few years ago, I think there was a court case, and finally we got justice. And it was just it was just crazy. It was like one of the biggest cover-ups in like kind of like UK history in terms of like actual like football kind of case, and that's why like the Sun were basically in on that like cover-up, but they were just like spreading lies in terms of them things that were said, which. And everyone knows, like the Sun haven't just said stuff like that. This like people know that the Sun just like spread lies like about
we know
so
what
many
the Sun are
different
about.
things.
They're still about the same thing, even though they've been exposed for so many different occasions.
But specifically that, yeah.
Yeah,
But and I think
on that.
it's same with like this European League, that it's just and all of that's why I loved all the fans came together. It doesn't matter, United support, Liverpool support, like last night, the riots yesterday. And Old Trafford, like I support that. Like even though I wanted to see the match like go on, like I supported. Obviously, not what was like there was people throwing stuff, but I support like the. It's just a protest of getting rid of them money grabbing owners, and that's all. That's why all the fans as football all united together to try and get rid of that European League, and same with this and the Sun, and like and you still get people like obviously. Same with like Munich disaster, right? You still get it's all type of fans like saying all rubbish, but that's the very like, you know what I mean. And like I'm a Liverpool fan, you're a United fan. I'll always support the Munich disaster, and you'll always support like the Hills, you know what I mean. And that's because we're just human, like we're just good humans, you know what I mean. So it's
always. It's like you said with the European Super League. It was so nice to see sort of fans get together, and I've always believed that that's what football is about. That you put politics aside, you put religious, you put everything aside, and you play the game of football. And the Hillsborough thing, like even as a United fan, when it comes to the Hillsborough 96th anniversary, and then you hear "You Never Walk Alone" being played, you get the hair on your arms stand up immediately, and you get goosebumps, because you're like, this is when you sit and you go, rivalries aside, this was about life and death,
and this is why like people like I'm so much more passionate, like I am anyway. I'm from Liverpool. I've grew up a Liverpool fan, went to the match all my like, but again, when I You'll Never Walk Alone, it's more like I'm more passionate than the average fan, because it's so close to heart, it's so personal towards me. So it's it's but again, it's just I've always just grew up, my dad's just been like, never buy the Sun. Obviously as you grow up you don't really understand, but obviously as I've grew up and start to understand, and that's why I'm not really a supporter of Boris Johnson, because he came out with a quote basically saying that like Scousers were lying about the Hillsborough disaster, and said some horrible quotes on that and stuff. So it's just sad. Yeah, it's just sad in a way, and I still don't think there's full justice. I don't fully understand like most of it, and because I obviously tried to look into it a bit more, but I'm not really a big fan. But yeah, obviously, like I said, they did have some justice, but definitely not like of my family suffering for 30 odd years. It's definitely not being like full justice of what they've got, because they never got an apology. If like David Duckenfield, the main guy who did it, and he never got any kind of sentence or anything like that, and all he wanted just an apology, that because they just got blamed, the fans and the families got blamed for years and years and years, for 30 years, and it's just sad. It was just sad. That's all he wanted, justice and apology, and they got the justice in terms of like the court now ruled it was definitely wasn't the fans, it was the police, but still haven't got any apology, which is just, it's crazy.
Crazy. was ridiculous, to be honest. Every time I think about it, I do want to kind of go a little bit back now. Actually, well, to be fair, go forward from the '96 disaster and talk a bit more about you growing up. What were you like as sort of growing up in Liverpool? What was your childhood like, and what were you like in school?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I was a good lad. I was from Crosby, and so again, like people may think of like you just get people all the time. Liverpool, it's just, yeah, you're gonna rob me and all. It's just like again that all stems. That's why I do take it a bit more personal when people say that, because that all stems from the Hillsborough disaster. In terms of when people are like, oh, you scout, but I just no, obviously people don't understand, and it's just kind of like just a bit of banter, they say. But again, that all stems from the Hillsborough disaster. Of that's why the Sun, it was like they rob and thing, and that's what again it stems from. So I try and not take it personally now, to be honest. But no, I was from a nice area in Crosby. It was called Crosby Blundell Sands, and that's where like Jamie Carragher grew up. Like he lives there now, around the corner. And my best friend, my best friend won the lottery, and then moved next to Steven Gerrard. So we got
Wow.
like after Istanbul, my dad's got like a ball signed by Steven Gerrard. So he lived around the corner from us. So it was a lovely area. I went to a lovely high school called Sacred Heart, and yeah, I just had the best childhood. Mum and dad were just so lovely, and they grew up. My dad worked from home. He's had like an IT job. My mum done beauty. She worked from home. So we always grew up with like a nice family around us, and yeah, I just grew up in like a nice area. Didn't I was just a good lad. Just always never got any attention. The only trouble I got into in school, and this obviously is from what like the entrepreneur into me as well, because I was always more families entrepreneurs. Like we'll get into the story why we moved the Alaman is because my mum's family has like fish and chip shops. They've got like 4 fish and chip shops over here. So my auntie has her own hotel in the lake. So I was always like in a family of entrepreneurs. And I got like I said, the only time I got in trouble was selling sweets in school. I was making like £20 a day. I was going to farm foods, like a wholesaler's getting chocolate and Lucasade, selling them for like double the price, and I was making a fortune. Like it was the most money. I was making like £100 a week. This was when I was like, I don't know, like 14, 15. It was amazing. And one day they just caught me with a big bag of sweets, but they knew I was a good lad. So normally people get put in like isolation for like a week or something, or detention. And I remember that I think my headmistress or something phoned my mum up and was like, I'm just so surprised at Lucas. And they kind of just like laughed it off, and because they know I wasn't a bad lad. But yeah, I done well in school. I got 4 A's, 1 C and the rest B's in GCSE, and then sixth form I think I got B 2 C's, and a distinction star, like a distinction star in IT. So yeah, like I had to work hard. I wasn't like naturally brainy, and I did kind of found sixth form a lot harder than GCSE. And then I went to University of Liverpool, done that for a year. I didn't even finish the year as well, because that's when I decided to move to the Isle of Man, because yeah, I just wasn't liking, like I was doing business. Like I said, I wanted to do like business management because I wanted to create my own business. That was the aim. But I ended up just like studying more for poker because I found my love through poker when I was 18, and I was doing like international politics with it as well. Like I said, like I just hated politics and hated stuff like that. So, but because I had to do like a minor in something, that's what I chose. Um, and I thought that at the end of the first year of uni, I could then do full business 100%, and they said I couldn't. So I think I had like 3 exams left, and I was living with my ex at the time as well. I wasn't living in halls, so I kind of split up with her as well. So again, that was the hardest decision of my life, because even though I'd split up with her and I wasn't enjoying uni, still to move to the Isle of Man. I knew my family was here, but I didn't know anyone else. It was hard to leave my life in Liverpool, because that's where I grew up and loved. So yeah, probably say that was the hardest decision that I've had to make, and it's become the best decision of my life, fortunately. Yeah.
See, I can full on tell that you're like you're used to sort of being in front of camera, because you have this already great ability to be able to tell your own story straight away. Something that some other guests kind of struggle to sort of give a monologue sometimes, because they're just not used to it. I can already tell you're used to it, because you've already answered so many of my own questions.
I've been chatting for 1,000 hours in 100 days.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got decent that with people not even like speaking to me as well.
I bet, yeah, no, you ended up speaking so well that I completely forgot to ask one of my most important early questions I was going to ask. But before I say that, what the reason why I'm looking forward to this episode is because you seem to have these so many side stories about your life as well. You know, moving to the Isle of Man. Sorry, when you said your best friend won the lottery or something like that. Hopefully, we can have a conversation about because that must be mental and just all these little side stories that I want to definitely get into. Before that, what I forgot to ask you is, could you just like sort of introduce yourself a bit? I know we're like 15 minutes in, so why would I introduce myself? I just forgot to ask it. So could you just like give a quick introduction?
It's all good. Yeah, I'm Lukas Robinson. In the poker world, they know me as Robin Poker. Again, that's another story I'll go into on why I call it Robin Poker, because that's quite a funny story. Well, it's based off my second name's Robinson. But then there's another reason why. 23 years old from Liverpool, England, Crosby, like I said. I've grew up in Liverpool all my life, moved to the Isle of Man about 4 years ago, where I've moved, and I'm now. I've took the plunge of quitting my job. I used to work in social media. Before that, worked in a fish and chip shop as well. And I quit my job to do this, something that's never done before, of doing streaming 1,000 hours in 100 days of poker. And luckily it worked out. I got a GG sponsorship, as you can see here, which is like one of the biggest poker companies in the world. Now I'm full-time poker professional, streaming on Twitch, which is just crazy. Yeah, it's just living the dream.
You are quite literally living the dream in the sense that you're doing what you love for a living, which is something that there's no one in the world that wouldn't want that. No. And congrats to you, because you quite clearly have worked hard for it. Before I forget to ask it, why are you called Robin Poker then?
So when I was 18, I done my first couple of streams. So that again, like I just wanted to be a poker. I just wanted to make it in poker, and like I didn't know about Twitch poker. I found it like some highlights on YouTube one day, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. So like back in the day, Poker Professionals, the biggest sponsored players, were all the high stakes at the big tournaments. But then it slowly transitioned to like Twitch was getting bigger, and now poker companies were sponsoring like Twitch streamers, which was amazing because anyone can kind of turn on a computer and stream Twitch. So that's what I did. But I was so ashamed in school. I didn't want any of my friends or any of the people that I knew in school like kind of making fun of me. So I was like, I can't call it my name, because if I call it my name, they might find me somehow. So I called it Robin Poker. And also my name Lukas is with a K. So business reasons as well is like, say if I'd done my name Lukas Robinson, people like, oh, have you heard of this guy Lukas Robinson? They may search with Lukas for a C, so may not be able to find me. And also I kind of just thought this, like, again, like whenever I see a robin, which is crazy because every time I see like a little robin, I always think of like my Uncle Steve, and that's kind of like the lucky family quest in like an animal in a way. So I thought if I did get into it, I could maybe create a fun little logo of Robin Poker, and I think I've got this thing here my friend made for me. So this is kind of like the logo that I had made. So he had this made for me after completing the challenge.
Oh, whoa.
So that's I had the logo anyway, but he made this. It's like a canvas with like the Twitch symbols, and just basically says like Lukas Robinson, 1,000 hours streamed in 100 days. And I'll show you this as well, that some of my mods. So you can have like mods on the Twitch channel, and they made this canvas for me as well. It basically says Robin Poker 100, which is like a Liverpool canvas. So in my new stream room, I'm gonna have that like hung up on my wall and have like lights around it as like the main piece.
Nice.
So yeah,
that sounds brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, that's the story behind Robin Poker.
You've quite clearly, from the beginning, I mean, from talking about the recent episode that I released yesterday, actually, it was with a guy called Muhammad Ibrahim, and he was talking about how when he was in high school, he would sell sweets and treats and stuff like that, and now, you know, he's made himself a really successful startup, and he's going into other ventures as well. And it seems that you've got this entrepreneurial brain all about you, because not only from that selling sweets thing, but also from the whole, well, what if people search my name up, my name begins with K, and what if, you know, with the Robin thing, and then you had the logo, you've all sort of, it's like you all had it planned out, and you just basically had to, you know, execute it. And it's interesting because obviously you mentioned there, like your family's got the fish and chips shops, and you work there. What in a family of entrepreneurs, I guess.
No, it was so when I moved over here, so that's the reason my mum and dad moved, because they basically got asked by mum's family to ask if they could come and run the fish and chip shops. because they'd had their own little shop before in Aintree by where we used to live, towards the end that we lived in Liverpool. But then they've got like 4 successful shops here. My nana grand had like multi-millionaires off it. They've been very, very successful. Before they moved to the Isle of Man, they had like successful fish and chip shops in like Southport and stuff like that. So yeah, they basically just asked them to see if they could come and run them and stuff like that. So they moved about 6 years ago. So again, that was hard because they left me. I refused to go. My dad I remember having a conversation with my dad. And he was like, "I'm not going without you," and I was like, "I'm not going." I refused because I was in sixth form at the time. So then I moved in with like in a little flat on my own when I was 16. So I think that's why people always say I'm like quite mature for my age. I think that's probably why, because I moved out when I was like 16, and I kind of just had to kind of grow up a bit quicker than most people. So so then I moved over here and worked in the fish and chip shops. There's nothing else really to do. And like work wise, so and I enjoyed it. It got me to know people. So like my best friend that I showed a picture of the other day, I met him through the chippy. He worked with my dad, and my dad, when I moved over, was like, "Right, Matthew, my son's moving over. You've met him a couple of times. I know you're going to be good mates," and we've been best mates ever since. So the mates I've met through that, I've better friends that I ever had in Liverpool. I don't even hardly speak to any of my old friends in Liverpool anymore, which is sad, but it's like I've got amazing friends here. So, but that was hard. Like that taught me, because I always think about negatives in life. You can learn to be a positive. And I look back now, and that was what motivated me to grind hard, to like work hard in poker and study, and because I never want to go back to working in the chippy. It was hard because got in at 8 in the morning. I was like the spud boy, so you prepare all like the chips. You've got to take them out. They've done it proper old school way. It wasn't like frozen chips. They like farmer delivers the potatoes, so you've got to put them in like a roller. You've then got to take them out the roller, see if there's any like green bits or eyes. You've then got to take the eyes with your hands with a knife, then put them in a chipper, then leave them to soak, and you've got all the other food to do. So it was hard work. So I was like 8 till midday there, then go home. I'll go to the gym or to have a rest, and then back in to fry. So then I was like fryer, like 4 till sometimes 9, 10, 11. So it was hard work, and my girlfriend that I've been with for like nearly 4 years now. That's when I first met her, and again, like we look back and like, how did we make that work? Because how did we hardly see each other? We didn't. I was working like till late nights, and when we did see each other, I was smelling like fish and chips. So it was again, and yeah, that just taught me hard work. It taught me that that's what I don't want to do. And that, because it was a family business, like obviously my family when I left was kind of gutted that, because they thought I was going to be the next big thing and like take on the family business and stuff like this, but I didn't want to do it. For me, I may have had probably better money potentially in the future, but again, like we talked about before, I just want to do something I love. And like all growing up, it was like I want to be an entrepreneur, and I still do. I still want to have my own business, grow some type of thing on poker in the future. I don't want to just have one source of income, but I've seen what it's done to my family, like in terms of like stress and in terms of like not having really time off and freedom. And for me, it's not about money anymore. For me, it's about just doing something I love and having that time to spend with your friends, family, and stuff like that. So I ended up quitting that and getting like a social media job where I'm doing like just being a moderator for like different companies and stuff like that. So done that for like, I think that was about 2 years, and then I ended up quitting that to do this challenge.
So yeah, well, I mean, you've got to, I think often people forget you've got to work to live, not live to work. And I think essentially that's been your sort of philosophy throughout your life. I mean, I read somewhere that at 11 years old in your yearbook, which I wish in the UK people read yearbooks, because I feel like it's not that common. But I mean, because I wish I wrote something like this in my yearbook. You wrote that for your 21st birthday, you'll be Viva la Las Vegas. You'll be playing poker. I think you were slightly later than 21st before you proper got into professional poker. Is that right?
Yeah, but I went to Vegas for my 21st birthday. Yeah, my dad took me. Yeah, so all growing up, again, this from my dad. He was like, right, we're gonna take you to Amsterdam for your 18th birthday, which he did, and it was horrendous because I don't smoke. I don't smoke or do any drugs or anything like that. So we just don't smoke weed. So ended up having like a big whitey there. And then 21st birthday, we went to Vegas, yeah, and just literally played poker, and it was just my dream. And that just made me realize that I'd love to do this as like a full-time thing. And yeah, so that happened, and then I think it says what you want to be when you're older in my yearbook as well. And it was like a top poker player. So it's mad because even though I said that when I was 11, again, I think it was something that I just wasn't even thinking. It was just based off going what my dad was telling me, whatever I was into. Because if I would have like thought back, I probably would have. If you would have asked me, I would have probably said of being a footballer or something like that. But again, yeah, I just have been into it since I was 11. Because I just looked up to my dad, my granddad, and apparently my uncle Stephen, who died, they used to play like poker games. That's how my dad got into it and stuff like that. So it's it's from an early age, and yeah, it's mad that it's not many things have like I'm going to be this when I'm 11, and then you end up going to kind of do that.
Yeah, to get it so right is incredible, and it's so good to see as well. So you obviously you got into social media. I think you became a social media manager for a year and a half, and then what was that like? Were you not enjoying it? Why did you just sort of leave it? Because obviously you had the bit of taster in Las Vegas of the whole poker thing, and you kind of realized I'd love to do this for a living. Was when you were social media manager, were you just not happy with that job either, or was it? I don't know. Was it just out of the blue to decide to do the 1,000 hours in 100 days?
So yeah, this is another type of like side parts of the story as well, which is crazy. So Pokestars Headquarters is over here in the Isle of Man. So I play poker with a lot of them in the casino that work for Pokestars. And I went from a dream job. This was 3 years ago when I was still working in the chippies. I went from a dream job to look after, basically manage the Twitch ambassadors and the poker ambassadors, the poker pros. And they offered me the job. I went through like 4 interviews. They offered me the job, but for some reason over here in the Isle of Man, if you need a work permit to basically get a job, which you didn't need in my family chippies, but you did if you were going for a job, and say if there was 5 people going for the job, that company, even though they wanted me and they offered me the job, they had to choose someone who was like from the Isle of Man over me. Which is silly because this is why we moved the Isle of Man, because my mum's from here, but she wasn't born here. So if she was born here, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have been able to get the job, but because she moved here when she was 4, it was all there's no way around it basically. So they basically just told me you had to not need a work permit, you need to live on the island for 5 years. Or you need to be in e-gaming or something like that for the 2 years. So that's yeah, and I was gutted. Like that again, that was my dream job. At that point, I didn't think, and this is the thing. Like when I was 18, I thought it was so hard to get into poker. Like being a student, like it's you haven't got much money, so to play the tournaments that you need to play to have a bankroll, because you have a separate bankroll of money when you're playing poker, you need to stick to. You need to have a lot of money to basically make decent money in poker. So I kind of never really I kind of didn't really think it was like too possible for someone like me playing like really low micro stakes to make it as a poker pro. So again, that's what I thought. Like my dream was to kind of work for Pokestars and work for a poker company, because I just thought that'd be so cool, managing like some of the top pros and stuff like that, and going to live events. So again, that was just something that at the time, like I said, it was very, very tough to take. But again, I look back and I believe things happen for a reason. That's my like kind of motto, and that did happen for a reason, because look at me now. So instead of working for a company, I'm being sponsored by a company. So
you got something better.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I'm actually part of a pro rather than managing one. So that's why I got like an e-gaming job for 2 years, worked in that, and it was just hard. Like the past year, I'm like very much into fitness. We can maybe go into that, and nutrition. at like later on, because so I was like going the gym. I was waking up at like 7 a.m. going to the gym, working 9 to 5 in my job from my home. I used to always work from home because that was just where the job was. Having like an hour to have some food, have a shower, and then I started to stream 6 till sometimes 2, 3 in the morning, say for run deep in tournaments. And the reason why I started streaming was because I knew I had a year where that at the end of 2020, my like work permit was kind of up. Like I didn't need a work permit because I could have been in that job for 2 years. So I knew at the end of 2020 that I could get a job on Pokestars basically, or some type of company like that. And so I set myself a year target to basically see how poker and streaming went. And obviously, if it went well, then I could do it full time. But if it didn't, then the back kind of thing was going to be to kind of get a job in that type of company. So yeah, it was just a hard grind. Like obviously during COVID, it was hard for everyone, but specifically for me, I must have had like maybe 2 weeks off in the whole of last year because it was so busy. My actual job, I think at the peak, I was working 6 days a week, 9 to 5, so 48 hours, and then streaming at least 20 hours a week in terms of evenings. So I wasn't getting enough sleep. It was just how I lived with my girlfriend, so I wasn't spending any time with my girlfriend, even though we kind of lived together. We weren't getting enough time. Those that like are in a relationship will know, like having days off and time together and going on holidays is important. So we weren't even going to like bed together because she was asleep by the time I was coming to bed at like 3 a.m, and then I was getting up to work when she was before she was going to work. So it was just hard, and it just got to a point towards the end of the year where I was like, my contract's up. And I don't. Why would I want to give up my dream? Like, why would I? Like, I would always regret it if I didn't try. Like, if someone said to you, like, what would if you have the option to try and like do like a professional thing like that, or manage someone that's doing that, like, I'd always be managing them type of like people and being like, I could be that. Like, and that's what my attitude was. If they can do it, why can't I? Because the thing is with poker, it's not something you have to go to uni and do like a master's for 5 years. It's all about hard work. Like those that may not know poker, they may see it as gambling. They may compare it to something like blackjack, roulette. It's completely different to that. It's a game where, and this is why there's professional poker players. There's not professional roulette players, because if you put hard work into it and you study, it's called like GTO, game theory optimal. If you study, like I'm working now with one of the best coaches in the world, which I'm so honored. BBZ, his name is. He's from the challenge. I started working with him. If you study and put hard work into it, you can make it as a professional poker player. But there's so many elements. Like I said, you've got to have a specific bankroll. You've then adds a different element to streaming it because it makes it a lot harder. You've got to speak a lot as you play it. So yeah, I think I made like 5K profit in the whole of 2020, which seems okay, but like as a job, obviously it's not. There's nothing compared to what my job like. And I always said the day I'm earning more through poker than I am my job, I'll quit my job, but I just never was. And that's why that's why I tried to take the plunge and kind of risked it all and quit my job and done this challenge, because this guy who basically set the challenge before me, Ali Shaban, his name is, he was I think he was in Big Brother Canada, some people may know him from, and he done this challenge and then got signed by PokerStars, and now he's one of the biggest full-time poker streamers in the world. So although it was at risk, I'm living from home, I'm not paying many bills, I'm not got a mortgage, not got kids. It was a risk in terms of I knew I had zero income coming in after the challenge, but I was hoping, fingers crossed, that an opportunity would come up like it has, and would then allow me to do it full time. So yeah, luckily it worked out. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it, and I remember when I was researching sort of you and your story, this idea of you really did take the sort of a massive gamble with this, 1,000 hours in 100 days, which on our it's no stream was less than 7 hours per day. You are going all out for this. You're risking it all. You left your job and you went, you know what, I saw this one guy do it. I need to replicate it, hopefully get something out of it. And you managed to do it. Am I right in saying that you managed to win over £23,000 in that online poker challenge?
Yeah, it's $23,000 it was, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, $23,000. what was that like when you managed to get when was that the moment when you went, I can full on do this as a living, and I don't need any other side thing. I can focus on this for now.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to do Twitch and streaming from it, because I knew the main basically to keep doing it full time is the sponsorship. That they basically, if you like GG now, the biggest companies, they pay me to play poker, but then you also have like a source of income through Twitch. So you have subs, so people subscribe for like $5 a month. So my initial aim to start that, I told people, was if I get to 500 subs, which I'd only ever got to 100 subs before. So like 500 people paying $5 a month. Which is crazy because people do. That's just the thing on Twitch. 500 subs would allow me
50 subs, which is crazy.
Yeah, on
donate.
I know the last some Exhibit A Poker friend of the stream gifted like 100 subs on the final day, which is just crazy. He's a high stakes player, so I think he's got a lot of money. But so my aim was 500 subs, and that works out probably about £1,000 per month, which again, like, is not obviously nothing compared to a normal job, but that would allow me to have done it full time, to then hopefully over the course of the future get a sponsorship deal. Because like I said, I wasn't earning amazing money through poker. Like, again, it would have made this challenge a lot easier if I'd done it in the future, where I was making decent money through poker. I was used to doing it full time. And because the thing is with poker, it's the mental side of the game that's the hardest. Physically, like I said, I kept myself in shape. I worked out every day for 100 days, didn't have one day off from working out, because again, that makes me feel better. I was eating healthy, sticking to my nutrition, sleeping well at night. So physically, I felt fine throughout the challenge. It was the mental sides of the game. And like I said, you've got to study it. And again, I couldn't study throughout the whole challenge, which then made it harder because I wasn't improving. But mentally, as a poker player, you go through upswings and downswings. So how I try and share it is like shares. So if people are most people know shares, like you see the graphs of shares, like you see over time, hopefully should be like an upswing graph in companies that like obviously are profitable. Same with poker, like your graph. So if I show you my graph, I need to share it on Twitter actually. My graph over time will kind of be, actually, is there any way for me to share my graph? Would you be able to see it if I share my screen?
You should be able to share your stream. Stream. Let me see. I think there's a way I can give you permission for it. More. There should be a share screen at the bottom.
Oh yeah. I've had this trouble before. I think you need to go on the settings and allow me to share. Because I've done Zoom. I do this like Zoom call thing. Well, there you go. So yeah, here you go. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah, I can.
So here's all the figures of the challenge basically. So 23,850. So as you can see, there's my graph throughout the time. So as you can see, like I started off quite well, and then I went on quite a bad downswing, and downswings happen in poker, in tournament poker specifically. It's something, again, like it's very hard mentally if you don't do it full time, because say if you're good at something, say like football growing up, I played FIFA, play Call of Duty, like you mostly always win, right? So if you're good at something, most things, like you mostly always win if you're the best. But in poker, you've kind of got to get used to the idea of you're going to have a lot more losing days than winning days. And the reason that is like, as you can see here, hopefully in the long run, you'll have winning days, losing, but then you have that one big like win, which then like we did, luckily. So as you can see, we started off well, because this was the risk as well. Like I definitely could have lost so I started off with a $8,000 bankroll, and basically what bankroll is just like your kind of the money you play with poker. So you've got to stick to like a certain bankroll management. So I was playing nothing above. I used like 300 buy-ins. So that basically just means I was playing nothing above, like anything above like $33 buy-ins. So like say if you've got $8,000, I couldn't just register into $1,000 buy-in, because you've basically only got 8 chances to win money. So that obviously will then, it doesn't matter how good you are. Someone could get pretty unlucky and lose 8 times in the tournament and then have no money. So this is so as you can see from the figures, the January was good. We started off pretty well. We were up 4,500. February again was good, and then we had a pretty bad March where I was down 6,000. And this is just pretty standard in poker. Like I said, this graph, although this is crazy because this was like a 22k win that I had, in the long run, if I study, my graph should continue to go up and up and up. But that doesn't mean that like I say I win every single day. Even the best players in the world don't win every single day in tournaments, just because it's a lot of variance involved in it. So it's a bit like when you like roll a dice. It's kind of like in the long run, when you roll a dice, you should roll kind of the same, the every number at a similar level, right? But you could go on a run of where you could roll at number 6 10 times in a row. It's kind of like poker. You could go on a run where, as you can see here, where you're winning, but then it just switches. It's like this switch, and that's when mentally it's very hard to be like, oh my god, like as you can see, we were down. I ended up going on like probably a 10k downswing. So even though at this point I was still up about 1,000 profit, with like a few days to go, I kind of had pressure on myself where I knew I'll share my profits throughout the challenge, at the end of the challenge. So I kind of still wanted to be in profit. And then, yeah, like I said, day 98, I was just praying. I was praying to my uncle Stephen. I was like, please just give me one last moment of the challenge.
And you got it.
As you can see, we came fourth in like a $55 buy-in for 22,000. That was my biggest ever score. So, it was kind of crazy how it all worked out. Yeah.
See, weirdly, even though like I know nothing about poker. Although I don't know if you've ever heard of True Geordie.
He had
I forgot his first name now. Summit Carell. What's his first name?
Charlie Carroll.
Oh, yeah, that's it. So he had him on the podcast a few times, and he's played poker with him. And what I've learned from watching them is, I'm not into gambling. I'm Muslim, so I can't gamble. And I'm not saying as a Muslim I'd play poker either. But the interesting thing about poker is how much maths is involved. And I find it so fascinating with the amount of maths that is involved in it. Was that sort of your favorite subject, or are you only interested in maths when it comes to poker? Are you that kind of person?
Yeah, no, I like quite like me. I got a B in maths in GCSE, so I'll just switch this here. There you go. Yeah, so I enjoyed maths, and again, like my coach that I'm getting coached by now, he's a lot maths based. Like I said, it's GTO, like game theory optimal. Where so say if there's 9 people playing at a specific table, say if you're playing with 9 others, there's a lot of maths involved in terms of you've got to play a certain percentage of hands. So that's why you've got I'll try and see if I kind of show you this thing just to make it a bit easier. So this is why it's a lot to do with maths, like game theory optimal. Like I said, so if you play a certain strategy if you play a certain percentage of hands from a certain position in the long run, you will be a winning profitable poker player. But there's, again, like I said, there's so many elements involved where you've got to play enough. So you've got to kind of like play enough to try and get through the variance, because if you play once a week, this is something I get quite common on the stream. People are like, oh, I'm running so bad, I'm so unlucky, like poker sites are rigged, which basically just means like, yeah, and it's then poker sites aren't rigged, for if people are wondering. But it's just because, say if they especially on like the Pokestars and the big sites like GG, if you play a tournament with 10,000 people, you're so unlikely to win that, even me, because you've got to get through 10,000 people. Whereas so if you play that all the time, then tournaments, then hopefully you have a deep run like I did. That tournament I came fourth in, there was probably about 10,000 people in that. But again, so you've got to play enough volume, you've got to study enough. So it's not just like you do a degree for 5 years and then you're done, you're a professional poker player, you can then make a living from poker for years. No, you've got to study. So I'm going to try and I'm going to speak to my coach, but probably do like 40 hours a week playing and then 20 hours study. So again, still putting in like 60 hours a week with also content ideas around that. So you've got to stick to bankroll management because, like I said, someone who doesn't stick to bankroll management, doesn't matter how good of a player you are. If you go on a bad downswing or a bad run of losing certain buy-ins, you could lose all your bankroll basically. So there's just so many. From the naked eye, doesn't know poker. It's obviously it may seem like a easy game. Like I always say it's a pretty easy game to get into, to learn, but to make it as a professional, like it's so hard, and that's why it's very hard to get into. But yeah, the math side of it is definitely something that I'm getting involved in a lot more, and especially like there's certain tournaments that have came out in poker recently where there's like bounty tournaments. So if you knock someone out, you'll instantly have a bounty on the head, and you'll instantly get like $10 into your account. So then that adds into the maths of you've got to work out how much that bounty is worth in terms of chips. You've got to then calculate in your brain, and that's as well as playing. I played like 6 tables at once. That's as well as like streaming around the talk. So again, that's why like people need to realize if I streamed 1,000 hours in 100 days of Call of Duty or FIFA, it would have made the challenge a million times easier. Streaming poker, in my opinion, and this is a lot of people say this is the hardest game to stream on Twitch as a profession, because you're constantly making decisions for a lot of money, and so you've constantly got to be on your game. So this is what I mean, where I had to basically be on my game 10 hours a day of concentration and working out maths, working out all different types of solutions, but that's why I love it, because it's not just boring. It's all different types of, there's not one spot that comes up, because if you think about it, if you're playing against thousands of players every day, you're probably never going to play the same hands against the same person ever. So everything's a lot different. Every solution's different, and that's again why it's not a solved game, because there's so many different elements involved in it. And again, that's why it excites me, and it always has excited me, because there's so much that goes into it to become one of the best players in the world. You've got to work hard. So
yeah, it's always for me as an interviewer, and just as an old person, when you see someone that's passionate about something, you can proper see it, and I can see it whilst you're talking about it, that even though it's so complex, and it's actually giving me a headache just thinking about how complex it is, and the amount of numbers that are probably going through your head, and the amount of possibilities and everything, and then on top of that, the pressure of you're on stream, it's a lot of money, everyone's like, there's probably a chat that's pinging every 2 seconds, whatever, and you just got to focus. It's incredible that you can concentrate and do all those things all at one time. I want to touch on one thing that you were mentioning there constantly about studying. What do you mean by studying? Do you mean by just practicing, or is there an actual, like, are you studying textbooks? I don't understand.
Yeah, so let me share my screen again. So this will kind of show. So this is BBZ. This is the website that I use to study poker. So as you can see here, they've got like coaching videos that you can go through. They've got so all these type of videos. So some of them are basically going over like hands. So that'll be my coach going over some of his hands and basically saying like, this is how you should play certain hands, etc., etc. But then there's these charts. So these are the charts that I'm talking about. So again, to say if this will look quite complicated, but I'll try and kind of explain. Let me just try and get on a poker table. Let me see if I can get this up here. Can you see that as well?
Yeah.
So this is a game. So this is on GG. They've given me like my own little avatar, which is pretty cool. So this is like a game. So online, so you play against 9 different people. So these are all like the different positions are given like certain names. So this is under the gun. This is the dealer button. So this is this is on the button. This is in the big blind. This is the small blind. So you basically have different. Here you go. Here's under the gun, middle position, big blinds. So there's all these different types of frequencies. So this is 20%. So these are all like the specific hands that you need to play from this position in order to basically make money in the long run. So again, these are all every single hand in poker. And these are all, may look very complicated. So basically the ones highlighted that are not blue, the ones that are green and red, these are the hands that you basically should be playing. You basically should be raising. And if you play these pre-flop against these certain positions, so as you can see, there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of all these type of graphs and charts, and you're not allowed to basically play with these while playing. That's against the rules basically of poker sites. So you've basically, a lot of it is trying to study and memorize these ranges.
You got to memorize all of that.
And that's just for this is just off this specific. So as you can see from this screen here, so you work everything in big blinds. So you basically divide your chips. Say if you have like 10,000 chips, you divide it by whatever big blind there is to basically work out. It all works out on big blinds. Again, this might be too complex, but so this is just for that specific amount of chips. So if you then go lower and you put it in terms of say 40, then there's them more. So there's just thousands and thousands and thousands or hundreds of different charts, and then this thing called ICM, so it's independent chip model. So this then all changes when you get on a final table because of the money involved and all stuff like that again. So there's just hundreds and hundreds of charts. So yeah, so that's basically, and that's just pre-flop as well. So as you go back here, so this is before you even see, like, so basically in poker, it's a 5-card game. So you all get 2 cards, as you can see there. And then it comes a flop. So it comes 1, 2, 3 cards. It comes a 10, and then it comes a river. And you've basically got to try and make the best 5-card hand that you can make. So the easiest form of that everyone knows is a straight. So like ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a flush. Everyone kind of knows a flush is, you kind of get the same, say like hearts, you get 5 hearts in your hand. So then it makes it more complex again, where there's a different type of software you then input of, say if it comes in ace, 2, 3, there's a computer that kind of shows you how you should play your hand on all different types of flops and stuff like that. So this is what I mean in terms of people that don't know poker may not actually fully realize how complex it actually is.
My mind is actually blown right now, because I'm just like,
yeah.
The only thing I know about cards is Snap. I don't know anything else about cards.
Yeah.
So complicated. I still don't even know.
And this is the thing. Yeah, no, exactly. And this is why it's so crazy. It seems like quite a simple game to get into, in terms of play with your friends for no money and just have a good laugh. But there's a reason why there's professional poker players. There's a reason why it's you kind of, there's a reason why like you get sponsored to be in it, because it's, if you work hard, like I said, and this is the thing about, I always looked at professional poker players, I always looked at streamers and thought, if they can do it, why can't I? Because it's purely hard work. It's, again, like I said, if you're a maths genius, there's a lot of people that have been maths geniuses that say they've came from Oxford, or they've had like a job in terms of something like that, like maths, or they found it probably easier to come into poker from that sense. And again, like I got a B in maths, but I had to work hard in school. So I'm not like, again, my memory's not the best. Maybe if you had like a photographic memory, learning all this type of stuff would be probably easier, right? But again, that's something that I've worked on. Like I've even worked on, I'm not too sure whether you, let me try and see what his name is. I've even like studied, and this is crazy because I went to sixth form, went to uni. I never studied how to study more effectively, like the scientific way of studying. So I've basically, that's something that I've got into. I don't know if you know Ali Abdal.
Yeah, I know him on YouTube.
Yeah. So he's basically someone that I've kind of started using, trying to help me just as off those YouTube videos on basically the scientific effective ways on how to study, which is I found has been helping me, because like I said, in school and sixth form and uni, they didn't teach you that. They didn't teach you how to, like, it was just like, right, highlight, and like everyone's different. Everyone's brain works differently. So like, so you need to find a way that suits you best. And that's what I love about Ali, is he does all different types of methods. And again, like poker, you get people in saying, no, you shouldn't play this GTO format, etc. Like, because people, there's this bit of debate in poker where it's either GTO or exploitative, and Charlie Carroll, who plays with True Geordie, he's very exploitative. So if he sees someone doing a certain something, he'll attack that, but he won't play. Even though he's very smart, he won't kind of use the maths. So he's a very much the exploitative time of matter. And same with like people may think about this like studying effectively, like no, I'm going to do it a certain way, but science is there for a reason. Like in poker, the GTO, like if you play the science based and mathematical based solution, you will win money guaranteed in the long run. Same with studying. Surely, if you use a scientific way of studying, you're going to see better results in the long run of someone who's been there and done it. So, even just stuff like that, I've been taking a lot more seriously because I want to become the best. I want to become one of the best poker players in the world. And again, I had a poker podcast like last week, and we talked a lot about how to like raise that edge. And if you look at everything in life, like poker, football, like Usain Bolt, the world records, like that's going to be beaten in the future because people's edges are going to just get raised in terms of whether it's different types of nutrition, different types of like stuff like that, right? But with poker, but you don't have to be born with a certain genetics. You don't have to be born with something like that. It's more just about hard work. And like I said, obviously, if someone's kind of a bit more brainier, but it takes in things easier, it's going to be easier for them. But again, like I said, I know to make it to the top. For me personally, I've got to work harder than anyone else, and doing stuff like that of studying how to study more effectively is something that I've just got to do. Yeah.
Well, I remember as well, like when it came to, because I didn't properly revise anything until I think GCSEs, and I went through so many different sort of revision methods until I finally found one that works for me. So, I mean, from studying about studying, what for you is the best way to study about poker, especially?
Yeah, so that Ali talks about, let me see, I've got like a little studying spreadsheet. So he talks about active recall. So like in school, I was the same. Like what I found was best for me, and this is kind of like I wish I would have found this solution in the first place. What I used to do was obviously highlight things. That's what they say, highlight everything in school. But Ali basically says that's a load of rubbish. Like highlighting isn't a good way. But again, like past papers, I always found were good, and because obviously that's kind of the same questions. But I always say if it was, even if I found a past paper, it was to memorize things. I was which is that's good for your short term memory. And I always found which again, I still don't think exams are like the best form of that, because that's what I could do. I always found myself doing that the night before, and then I'd forget it a week later. And this is what I mean with poker. That I can't do that because I've got to remember. Yeah, I've got to get the best. You've got to remember it. So, again, that was my way of studying in school, was just writing it out over and over again. And I think that's probably why I wasn't the best at like essays and stuff like that. But basically, what Ali talks about is active recall. So you basically like read on the topic. You then write questions on the topic. You can do it like a spider diagram, or I use like a program called Anki, where you can create like flip charts, which are really good. That's like a free kind of source of material. And then he reckons like quantity over quality. So this is in terms of like, again, this is something that I always like started on the first page of the textbook, work my way through. He reckons that you should just like start from just like random ones and kind of just like get your brain to like the hardest to study the hardest bits to then remember it in the long run. And then he talks about using active recall and spaced repetition. And again, this is something that is the main thing that I didn't do, where say if you study a subject one day, you then go over it like a week later, you then go over that a month later. But for me, it was like studying a certain topic over and over again until I then remember it, and then moving on to the next topic. He reckons basically you should go over a topic quite quick, then go over the second topic, then go over the third topic, create questions on that, and then go over the questions every week, every 2 weeks, and basically keep a spreadsheet of your kind of like the day that you study that specific subject, and how you performed on that. So give yourself like an A, B, or C, or say if you got like 70 out of 100 in a quiz or of the questions that you basically created for yourself. And that's what Anki does good. It basically tells you how many percentage you got and whether you got like an A, B, or C or something like that. And he basically then says, say if you get an A on a certain subject, you then probably shouldn't go over that topic then until you've then got an A in every other subject. So basically just hammer home the subjects that you're not doing good at, which again makes sense, right? Whereas for me, it was like, right, let's go through all the questions. Next week, just go all through the same questions. But if you're amazing at a certain topic and you know the answers, why go over that again? And again, it's basically that he showed like the forgetting curve, and it's basically interrupting that forgetting curve. So obviously over time, anyone, if you say, if, like for me, I'm really bad with names. So say if you get introduced to someone, it's like, oh, hi, my name's so-and-so. I forget it next time I meet them. So it's that forgetting curve. So it's basically says you need to try and interrupt that forgetting curve. And this is obviously, again, this might not be in terms of work well in short-term memory if you need to study for an exam, which he does, though he still uses this for exam. But for me, I need specifically long-term memory where I will remember that. Because say if I'm in a big spot with a certain hand against certain someone, if it then pings in my brain, oh wow, I remember this spot, like I remember studying this specific spot, that will do me good. Whereas if I'm like, oh man, I remember this spot, but I don't know what to do because I don't remember it. Again, it's about long-term memory. So that's kind of opened up my eyes. And he talks about like studying for 25 minutes and then having a 5-minute break. Again, this is just something that I didn't do.
Yeah, Pomodoro.
I always kind of left. Yeah. I was kind of left it to last minute and just done hours and hours on ends, just worked as hard as I could, tried to do it, and I just got burnt out. So again, this is something that I need to do. I haven't, it's crazy looking back on this because I haven't used this throughout the whole of the challenge because I just didn't study. Because I knew that was something that I wouldn't be able to do. But again, I'm excited to kind of get back to studying and just getting better. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, that was a lot to digest there about poker, to be honest. And I feel like I just at some time out of just the poker game itself because it's already confusing me so much. I want to I want to show you something. I want to show you a video, and I want to just get your reactions to the video because I think it'd be something that you probably haven't forgotten. But yeah, I'm just going to show you something quickly. If you're listening on audio, then I mean, I do apologize because you won't be able to, but I'll explain what the video is there. So I'll share with you now. There we go. And share. So this is a video that I came across whilst I was doing my research, and I just want you to watch it, and you don't necessarily have to say anything whilst watching it. I just want you to watch it. I want to see your reaction to it.
Cool.
Can you hear it?
No. Oh yeah, I can. Yeah. This is what I voted as the best moment of the challenge.
I'm sorry.
Every time I watch this back, I'm just like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have cried on stream, but it's it is an amazing moment.
So, well, I mean, you've said you've watched it. I mean, so you said that you watched it before, so I'm not going to make you watch it again. But this was something that I obviously came across when I was researching it. And I mean, for those who are listening, it was a video of Lukas playing poker, streaming it, and you'd won $3,700, which is a lot of money, obviously. But why? And then you broke down immediately. and it was a very wholesome thing to watch for me personally. What's researching here? Why was it so? Why did you break down? If I'm being honest, well, if that's the question, why did you break down so immediately? Because following that, just immediately after that part of the video, you were just talking about how you were so worried, so worried, so worried. Could you just like describe some of the emotions you went through at that time? Because it was so wholesome to watch.
Yeah, and then like further on in the video, my dad comes in, and then my girlfriend and my mum and dad, my sister, and it was just a relief. So that was again, this is a hello.
Hello. Yeah,
just froze.
Yeah, you're frozen as well. I mean, we can still hear each other, so that's not. You should be all right.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully it comes back in a sec. If not, I'll just tell this, and then we can maybe see if we can do another. It was that was the end of like week 3, which obviously showed that it was like 14 and a half weeks in total. And the first week went fine, like went really good. But the like I said, the main thing that I was worried about was like my whole bankroll going on a bad downswing on the mental side of it. And the second week was like mentally the toughest, like very, very tough. Like I was losing every single day, and it was just like, wow, I just can't believe like this is happening. So I think I was down maybe like 1,500 overall after that second week. And then on the Sunday, actually on stream, I had like 3 hours left of the stream. I found out that one of my like friends had died as well in a he was on his bike and got hit by a car. So it wasn't like one of my closest best friends, but it was like someone that I like really, really loved. And like if I saw him on a night out, like yeah, it was just and it was the first time like someone I knew had just like kind of passed away like unexpectedly. So that was like at the end of the second week, after just like the hardest week of my life in terms of like poker. And I was just like, wow, that happened. And I was like, I've got another 12 weeks of this to go. And I couldn't just have a day off. Then this is the thing about the challenge. Like I couldn't have had a day off. So it's, I had to carry on the Monday. And I think that was maybe like a week later or a few days later that I won that tournament. So it was kind of a relief of that, where it was like, wow, like that kind of relieved a load of pressure of not losing like kind of my whole bankroll. Obviously relieving the pressure of just kind of I'd always dreamt of that one moment on stream as well. Like I'd never won a big tournament like that on stream. And again, like another thing was before I started the challenge, I had 20 average viewers. And around that time of winning that, I had about 700 people watching me. So
wow,
it was just such a special moment that I'd always like kind of dreamt of. I just was always replayed it in my mind of like the first big win I'd have on stream and of what I'd do. And I obviously didn't think I was ever going to cry on stream.
Did you think you were going to do like a Gerard kiss to the camera or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, which I did do in the future ones, like when I went that 22.
I'd do that.
Yeah, when I didn't do the 20, when I won the 22,000, that's what I mean. Like I won more money throughout the challenge. Like I'd came third in the tournament for 4,700. So there was like I won more money throughout the challenge, came like 22,001. That was unbelievable moment. There was like 2.8 thousand people watching me on day 98. That was insane. But I think it was just the relief. It was just more the relief and that first moment that I dreamt about having on stream. And yeah, it was just again the relief of quitting my job. That kind of, from that moment, it kind of hit me where I was like, I can do this. But before that moment, I think I was doubting myself, where I was like, physically, I think I was going to be fine, but I didn't know. I just didn't know how I was going to get through the next 12 weeks before that moment, because it was just so tough. And this is the thing as well, which is crazy. I hadn't done a 10-hour stream before the challenge. Like again, like I hadn't done one. I hadn't prepared. I'd prepared and maybe done like 2 9-hour streams, but in an evening I'd never streamed 10 hours. So I'd never done one 10-hour stream, which is something that again, people need to know, which is crazy. But yeah, again, that was another factor that kind of played. It was hard in the challenge as well. Yeah.
I mean, just the so was you, because you were saying that you'd won obviously more and you'd had more viewers. So was that the first time you'd won that amount, or was it?
Yeah,
You, oh, okay.
Before that, I'd the biggest winner was like maybe 2,500. So this what I mean. Like at the time, relatively, it was the biggest by far. It was the biggest win as well. Like I hadn't won many tournaments before that on stream, like them big ones. So, and that was like a $44 buy-in at the time. That was like the biggest buy-in that was playing. So if I was going to choose one tournament to win specifically, that would have been it. Which is again what made it so special. So.
I think that what there was, the best thing about that was that there was nothing fake about it. It was, it was an immediate sort of, you broke down, you took your headphones off, and you were just like, I can't believe it. I was so worried. You kept mentioning the fact that you're so worried. And then when I broke when your dad came. I think, was it your dad that first came in?
Yeah.
So when he came in and he was there like, and he hugged you, and then everyone else came in, you were saying, and they hugged you as well. And it was just, I highly recommend everyone to watch that video, because that is the video of a man who put his all into something that he loved, and he finally, that moment is something that we often don't see. What happened? So we cut off there, but essentially what I was saying was it was something that we don't often see. When people become successful, say someone's hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube or whatever, and you might get that moment you might get that reaction, and sometimes you get to see it, but you don't always get to see it. But you don't always get the chance to see it, and especially not with someone who basically put their eggs all in one basket, and when I'm gonna go for this, I'm gonna dedicate myself to 1,000 hours in 100 days. I'm gonna quit my job, everything. I'm gonna go for it proper. And then when I saw you, take the headphones off and just I still remember. I've only watched the video once, but it's like I've watched it a million times, because you took the headphones off, you pushed your chair back, and you were like, it's like the minute you pushed it back, boom, everything hit you.
Yeah. And that's what it was. Everything at that one moment. I didn't have many times throughout the challenge where it hit me. Again, it's still like signing my GG, completing the challenge. I still can't believe that I've done it, to be honest. But that moment that I've never had a feeling where it just hit me. Like it was such a surreal moment. And again, that's why I picked that. Although the $22,000 score on day 98 was special in terms of that was unbelievable, biggest ever score by far. That was 2,800 people watching me. But that moment of me crying and the 44 bodybuilder win was, and people, I think some people saw that and was like, why is he crying? It was not that much money. It wasn't about the money. It was just more of like, it was, and that's obviously just like, that's just negative people on social media, like there is. I think that was on like one of the Lab Bible posts or something like that. That you're always going to get, which doesn't bother me anymore, to be honest. But it was again, like you said, it was just the risk. It was just something that I've always dreamt about doing, and what followed that was that kind of went viral in the poker industry, where that got me noticed by GG, that got me noticed by BBZ, that then just sent that a whole challenge on my stream to a completely different level, where that it may have happened throughout the challenge. There may have been another moment like that, but that for me was just, it was just a special moment that I'll never probably ever forget.
No, it was so good to see. And you say that, like, obviously you got people saying stuff, but when you look at your chat that was just going through, everyone's there like, oh my god, you did it. Oh my god, it was that as well. It's like everything. It's unbelievable. Was so perfect. It was so perfect. It was the slow build up where you're getting closer and you can see your eyes getting bigger because you're like, oh my god. And then the push.
I was so in the zone. Because when I'm on that fan TV, people say I'm very chatty, bubbly, but once I'm there, I'm like, right, that's it. It's like I'm so in the zone, and again, that's why it was just like so much pressure. But it's not pressure in terms of negative for me. I thrive, because people say, do you feel the pressure when there's like 1,000 people watching you and you're playing for that much money? I thrive under that pressure. Like I love that feeling. I wish I could bottle it up and sell it, because for me it must be like what it's playing like at Anfield, like playing a football match in front of fans, because that's what it is. That's the closest thing for me. It's that I just love it. And again, my community, again, I just want to thank everyone, like the lads, the 10 of the lads that watch it every day. They got me that Liverpool canvas with Rob and Poker on, which I didn't know they were doing. They're just the best community. And then this is the thing, like you're always, as you go bigger, you're always going to get negative people. You're always going to get like haters. People are just jealous, basically. But I've got, for every one negative comment that we've had, which I haven't had many, I've had like 1,000 positive, because everyone's just so, because everyone can just say I'm just honest. Like I'm not. I don't sit there and like say I'm the best poker player in the world. I'm like, listen, I'm learning, I'm getting better, and I'm just a normal lad. And I think that's what GG and Lad Bible liked about the story of, I'm just a normal lad. And like that, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And not in terms of poker, but in terms of your dream. If you have a dream, like, why not? Because there's nothing special about me. And that's what they like. They like that dream is alive. The poker dream's still alive, in terms of anyone can flick on a stream and a computer. And if I inspire people, like I inspired this lad from Liverpool to run, he's running a 10K every day for 100 days for charity. I think he's raising money for like prostate cancer, and he's nearly at the end now. He's donated like thousands, and he messaged me this lovely message and was like, you've inspired me to do this. And I've had so many just lovely messages. Even people messaging me like they were suffering from mental health in lockdown, and my stream every day has helped them through that. And for me, that's what makes it worth it. It's just, it just gives me goosebumps. Like, one of the guys sent me a picture of his daughter, drew a picture of me with a robin, like of a robin and stuff like this. And for me, that's just what I just love, and what makes it worth it. And I'm just so, I say I'm the luckiest like lad in the world, but like I've worked hard, and if you work hard at something, that's why it's such an amazing feeling. And because again, like I think that's what it was with that win, and why it broke down was, like I said to you, the last year wasn't just the challenge. The last year, the last few years, like even moving the Isle of Man, like working in the chippies, and it's not been easy. And especially last year of not really having a social life, not really having a life, being tired all the time. That feeling of just being tired every single day. It's just, I didn't want that life. And I did feel a bit lost dropping out of uni, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. But I knew if once I found that thing that I loved, I could put everything into it, and that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
And that's what you've started, and you're on your course to doing it, to be honest. I've only got sort of a few questions, because I don't want to keep you on for too long. I'm sure you're very busy, and obviously this is your last sort of day before you get back onto playing properly again. Yeah, and you've obviously had a nice break. What have you been up to? Taking 2 weeks off.
I wish I could go on holiday, but I'm based in the Isle of Man, so we're still in we're out of lockdown now, unfortunately, but we still can't go and leave the island. I think we can, but you've got to come back and isolate for like 2 weeks or something like that. So I'm getting my first jab next week, and then the second jab whenever in 10 weeks time. So hopefully I'll be able to go away, because I haven't left this island. And it's the thing about, it's a lovely island, don't get me wrong. Loads of nature, nice beaches, but there's not really much to do. And holidays are important if you live on a small island, because you need to go and just get off it for a bit. So that's why in the past I always went to Liverpool to watch the match with my dad, see my family. I just can't wait to just get back and see my family, like my nan and granddad, that based in Liverpool still. Got cousins in London, stuff like that. So I just can't wait to just kind of go on holiday. But I've just been chilling. Me and my girlfriend just took time. Like I said, we've been moved in a new flat. So this is like my little bedroom here that we kind of live from, and it's just funny just looking around, and just we just kind of, we've got our own flat, because again, like, this is something that I think my girlfriend needs plaudits as well. She waited for me for the whole challenge of, we didn't really get to spend time together. Even in an evening, she was like cooking my meals to support me, and she was I was having food, I was having a shower, and then going to sleep, because I was that tired. I was just like that tired, and it was hard for her, like it would be for anyone.
Yeah.
So she again has just been an
And
amazing
100
support.
days is a long time, especially in lockdown on a small island as well. It's like you're
Yeah,
gonna want that company, and it's like, well, he's just playing poker all day, and I can't do anything,
exactly.
and I've got to make his meals.
And she couldn't. I know exactly, and she couldn't work as well. So she didn't really. If she could work, that would be. She could at
Oh,
least do stuff in the day. So,
mate, you got to
so
keep her right there. The fact that she actually hasn't just gone and done one, because I would have gone. I would
exactly.
have gone after day 5. I'd be
Right.
like, forget that. This guy's just playing
Not
poker.
even the challenge. The past year, like I said, like the past year was the challenge in a year, like because we just didn't have time together. So yeah, she's just been amazing. I just can't wait to just go on holiday with her and just have time. Like we've been going out probably 4 years. We've had one holiday together. I think her dad lives in Wales. She hasn't seen him for 2 years, so it's just going to be nice just to kind of just spend time together. And again, this is what I love about the poker is flexibility. Like I'm not tied down to a set and I've got to do these amount of hours each week. GG are just so supportive in terms of that. So just having a life, just to spend time with friends, my family, my girlfriend, going on holidays and stuff. And obviously not. I'm not a big. Even though I'm still young. I'm 23. Like I'm not. I don't really like going out, to be honest. I'm not really going partying and stuff like that. So I'm not too fussed about that. But yeah, we're kind of seeing family as well, because I hadn't seen like my aunties and uncles over here for 4 months. So my friends, we had like a barbecue, like you said, like I showed you that picture a couple of weeks ago. So that was nice just to spend time with them. So, but still, I find it very hard to switch off, and this is something that she always keeps telling me I need to get better at of switching off when we spend time or evenings together. So even though we were off like 10 days, whatever, there's still always stuff that pops up. So I promise that whenever we can get away, we will. But again, like throughout the challenge, again, that's what was kind of a relief of. I promised that after the challenge it'd be worth it. We'd be able to get a flat together. But before, people need to know, like I had zero income coming in. Even if say if I hit some 500 subs, which I did, again that wouldn't have covered moving out into a flat and
Yeah.
covered that rent. So the reason why we can is because of a sponsorship deal with GG, and then that's kind of what your dream is as a poker player, is to get that sponsorship deal with a poker site. So I didn't ever think it was going to be GG. Like GG Poker are one of the main like market kind of like in the market of poker, and they're just on the up. Like they've so it's working closely with Lab Bible now as well, because they've got a deal with Lab Bible. So Lab Bible kind of want to work closely with me because I'm like the first like UK streamer on GG Poker. So they've got like massive plans with that, and talk about maybe going Vegas and the end of the year, stuff like that. So it's yeah, just living the dream.
Imagine the 11-year-old kid that put 21st birthday ends up getting flown out to Vegas by a sponsor.
I
Imagine that.
know,
That'd be
mad.
crazy.
Because they've got the deal with WSOP, like World Series of Poker is the biggest. That's the dream, to play in the World Series of Poker as a poker player. And so GG have got a deal with WSOP as well. So fingers crossed, yeah.
Yeah, I know it could happen. It could. And if you need a chaperone,
my dad's already booked that.
if your dad needs a chaperone, then we can. Or maybe, to be fair, I mean, it's a good segue because obviously your dad's been playing poker for a long time, but he's also getting a bit more into the competitive scene. It seems like, because your dad, whose name is Peter, he beat. From what I found, he beat 15,000 other people to win $10,000, which I've got. So if he needs a chaperone, I'll be his. He can be yours, and I'll be his. Yeah. So what's it like to, it's like father and son both basically dominate in the poker world together.
There's only been, so BBZ's just done an article on my dad, and there hasn't been that many like dad and sons in poker. So there's been a couple of like famous ones in poker, but they were like these are the new kind of father and son in poker, which is just amazing. People just love, because my dad was always coming on the stream, and people just love him because he's crazy. Because he had me when he was 21, so he was young. So he's still. My mum always says he's more immature than me, and which he is. Like he still plays like Call of Duty on the Xbox. He still obviously plays poker, so we have that battle. And this is what I mean. I got the world record. I got the sponsorship deal. I've got the biggest, like, so he, within the challenge, I won that for 3.7k, then won one for like 4.7k, and then he had a 4k score. So his biggest wins were getting bigger. So, but he was always against studying. No, and this is the thing with poker, that you get people like just old school people, like, because back in the day you didn't have to study poker. You could, if you were pretty decent in terms of, you can read players, you could make money through poker, but you just can't do that nowadays. So my dad was always like, no, I don't need to study. But then he started studying with BBZ, the Pokestars bundle, and he's got better. So then I had that 22k score, and then after the challenge was finished, there's basically the 22k score that I got was fourth in Scoop. So it's like Spring Championship of Online Poker. That's on Pokestars, and again, that's one of like the biggest tournaments to win online. So he actually won that. So he's got like a proper badge for winning that. So now we've always being so competitive. So he's like, yeah, you may have got the biggest score, but I've got a scoop. I'll always have the first scoop ahead of you.
He's probably still trying to be like, yeah, no, I'm the better one.
No. Honestly, if you had a chat with him, he would look you in the eye and say that he's better at poker still than me. Like, and he always will. He'll just always think that, and that's what's great, because when I was 18, he was better at me, and I wanted to get better at him. That was the aim. So then I think he admits now. He does admit sometimes that I'm better than him, but now he started studying and getting better, and he's actually going to start his own stream as well.
Is he?
Yeah, because he's not working at the moment. So I said, why not? Like, why don't you just give it a go, and just why not? And we can become the biggest father and son in poker. So
can you do duo poker, like as in like 2v2 or not?
Yeah.
Is that not a thing? Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah. So we have like we had a dual on day 99. We had a dual stream. So people can actually go on my Twitch channel and watch it back. Actually, you can like save the videos. So there's so if people want to kind of watch it live, I think you can watch the day 98 where I won that 22,000 score, day 99 and day 100. I'd recommend just to go back and watch some of them streams.
Yeah, I'll leave the links in the description. Yeah,
because like they're just fun. Yeah. So my dad, so we done a dual stream on day 99, and he's just crazy. He's mad. So, and then so. Dad. When I had like 10 days off, he streamed on my channel for a few days on his own as well, to try and get the taste of it. And I was like, do you think it was hard? And he was like, yeah, it's a lot harder. There's just so much that goes into it. There's so much goes into poker, but then actually then streaming it as well. It's just so complex. So it's he's going to start it and kind of see where that takes him. Yeah.
But your dad, when you look at someone, you're like, that's someone that's a cool guy. He's a sick guy. I immediately, when I saw your dad, because the first time I saw him was in that video where you won the 3,700. I was there like, if that's his dad, that is a sick guy. You can already tell from the hair. He just looks like a cool guy.
He's just a proper scout. He wears all Nike gear, and he's good looking. He's a good looking. He was a model back in the day as well, so he always get on stream for that. Yeah. So he was. Nice. Yeah, that's what he used to do when he was about my age. So I'd say I always say he's got the better looks, but I've got the better kind of poker skills. But even in like GCSE, he didn't get as good GCSEs as me. But even that, he's like, yeah, but he always just like, even competitive than that. I'm like, well, I'm obviously more clever because I've got better GCSEs, and he's like, yeah, but you studied, I didn't. I didn't try. I didn't try.
I love how
I'm like, yeah, but I still, what? Like, he was like, if I would have studied as hard as you, I would have got well better than you. And it's like, oh my God.
But you didn't study though, that's the thing.
Exactly. But he's just still won't have it to this day. So
I love it. I think that's brilliant. And I think that's probably pushed you on as well, his competitive nature. Because the thing is, maybe it's not on the front of your mind, but in the back of your mind, one of your desires will be, I really want him to just for your own sort of sensation, you'd be like, I really want him to know that I'm the best, right? I'm better than him. And so you're like, so you have to basically push yourself to the max so that you make the gap between you and him so big that he just goes, you know what? Yeah, you are better than me, aren't you? So then you can get that. Because if you're close to him, he can still be like, nah, I'm better because of this. He can pick at things. But if you're miles ahead, then he can't say anything.
And that's what it was before the challenge. My biggest score was like 2.5k. I hadn't really won a proper one. And his score was like similar. But then obviously then elevated, I was winning a lot more. My bankroll was becoming a lot bigger. And then that 22K score. So it was like that. And he was like, you know what, fair enough. But then now he's won that scoop. It's then gone back to that.
Yeah.
Where he's like, nah, I'm still the best.
See, I bet when you took that vacation, it's like, right, now's my chance to start catching up to this guy. My second to last question, and I've really enjoyed having you on, Lucas. It's been fascinating just to hear more about your own story, how you got into it, and just in general about you, which is the aim of this podcast is about hearing people with some sort of story, because I just personally believe that everyone has a story to tell. And I think, and I mentioned it in a previous podcast, I feel like everyone hears about the guy who went from 50 stones to 15 stones. Everyone hears about the guy who went from a council estate to a billionaire. And those stories deserve recognition. They are incredible stories. But one of the reasons why I started the podcast is I want to hear the story about the guy that went from 50 stones to 45 stones. Yeah. Yes, he's still extremely obese, but he's making a difference to his own world, and maybe not directly to everyone else's world, but to his own world, he is. And when I saw you, I saw someone that, okay, he's not number one poker player in the world, but he's aspiring to be the best in the world. And he's come from Liverpool, and he's trying to do his best, and he wants to make himself proud, and he wants to do well for himself. And obviously, when you replied, I was absolutely buzzing, because I wanted to learn more about poker. I wanted to learn more about your life. But that $23,000 win, it is 23,000. Am I right, or is it 28,000?
So the profit wise overall throughout the whole challenge was 23,850, but the biggest win I had was $22,000.
Right. So when you'd won that 22,000, what was that like?
It was just surreal.
That's nearly people's salary, like a full year.
Yeah, that was
people going into jobs.
That was what I earned in a year on my old job. that was what I earned in a year on my old job. Yeah. And also, like, you don't pay tax on gambling in the UK. You don't pay tax. So yeah, there's no tax I pay on that as well. Yeah.
Jeez.
So that's more. Yeah, and so I obviously pay tax on my job and national insurance, stuff like that. So yeah, so thinking about it, yeah, it's actually more. So I started with the 8K bankroll, and now my bankroll is like 31,000 I ended with. So like I said before that score, I was still up 1,000 profit, and it still would have been amazing. Like, it still would have been everything that I would have dreamt of and more would have happened, where I got a GG sponsorship. I got BBZ, I got Twitch partner as well, which is a massive thing to me. People that aren't really into Twitch probably don't know, but it's basically like the verified badge you see on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, like the little tick, yeah.
And it's quite hard to get that, because you've got to get at least 100 average viewers. And like I said before the challenge, this is why it's crazy for me. It's just crazy to think, because I had 20 average viewers. I remember streaming to like 5 people a year ago. Like, it's mad. It's just crazy. But now what the amazing thing is, I don't have to rely on the money I earn through poker, because most of my money that I'm earning is now through obviously my sponsorships and stuff like that. So anything that I kind of earn through poker is a bonus. But like I said, you keep a specific bankroll. So if you need that money, obviously you can take that money out of your poker accounts. But if I keep that $30,000 bankroll, that will allow me to play higher buy-in tournaments. You've got to see it as basically as an investment.
Yeah.
If I can play higher buy-ins, my return on investment on them higher buy-ins will be higher. So in the long run, that will allow me to make money. I make a lot more money, and again, that's where, like, you get the most viewers on Twitch if you're playing like the high stakes tournaments, because
bigger games.
It's common knowledge where if you're playing for $1 million or you're playing for $100, people are going to obviously want to watch you if you're playing for $1 million. So
yeah, so like it's essentially whatever you make, you've got to invest a load of that back in, because you want to get into these bigger games, because that's going to get you even more.
But then like GG give me like free. This is why amazing. GG's amazing. They give me like free tickets into, like, they give me my biggest ever buy-in. They put me in on day 90, on the same day that I won that 22,000. Actually, they put me in like a $1,000 buy-in, which is just crazy. That's the biggest buy-in that I've ever played for free. So if I cashed in that for $10,000, I would have kept everything. And in 2020, when I started streaming, I had a $400 bankroll. So I only had $400, and then I kind of spun. Took $400 to $5,500 by the end of 2020. But I remember when I was in uni, 18, like I said, I think I'd done 4 streams, and then gave it up for 2-3 years because uni took over, and I just lost confidence in doing it. I remember having $10 in my bankroll. I remember playing like maybe 50-cent games then. So yeah, this is what I mean about. I wanna come on these podcasts to just basically explain my story in terms of if I can do it, you like anyone can listening. And this is what I've found inspirational to me in the past of watching these type of podcasts. And the main thing, just to touch on quick as well, the main thing that really inspired me to do this challenge was I don't know if you've ever watched the Colin.
I think I've watched that now.
He's like the first person to. He's just so inspirational. He bent his legs in doing something crazy like fire jumping or something in Thailand. He's traveling the world, and doctors said he never would walk again in his life. His mum was like one day when he was on the hospital bed, like, what, when you can walk, she was like, let's be positive. When you can walk, at this point, they didn't think he was ever going to walk. What do you want to do? And he's like run a triathlon, which he'd never done before. He just randomly said it. He ended up going on to walk, and he done his first ever triathlon. Didn't ever think he was going to pass the finish line. Celebrating with his family, etc., and then he gets his name called out, and he'd won it. He'd actually won his first one. And he'd then gone on to become like a successful triathlete, and then went on to do world records, like traveling up like the Mount Everest and stuff like that. And then the one I watched was he was the first person to travel around Antarctica unassisted, which was something like maybe 60 days in a row, 12-hour days. And I was like, if he can do that, why can't I sit on my arse for 10 hours a day playing poker? And obviously it's not as easy as that, right? There's a lot to go into it, and there's a reason why no one's ever done what I did before, ever. But I was just like, if he can do that, I can do it. And that's what inspired me. And I just love watching podcasts like that to just inspire, because it is hard. Like life is hard if you're lost and you don't know what to do, and uni's hard, and studying's hard, and working in a job's hard. But do you know what? I always just, and I take, people have no other option sometimes not to work a 9 to 5. I'm not saying there's anything against 9 to 5 jobs, but I just didn't want to be one of them types of people to live for the weekend and live for my holidays. I want to. And work a job that, it's fair enough. People work, and I was probably willing to work a 9 to 5 job, working for like a poker company, and I probably would have enjoyed that. To be honest, I would have loved that, but I just wanted to do something I love and also have that freedom. And this is crazy to say, this is the first ever time in my life I've had the freedom. If I want to have a day off, I can have a day off.
Living the life there, man.
And that's the way life should be. Like, and obviously it's not as easy as that for people, but that's such a simple thing, but most people don't have that, which is it's sad, but that obviously it's kind of the world we live in, and there's a reason for that. But I'm just I just always wanted that, something that I loved, that I can work hard to do, but I found something not only that I love and I love to do, but also like obviously there's money involved in it, plus it just gives me that freedom as well.
Well, I mean, that's it from my own sort of questions. I've got one final question to you. But I mean, before I say that, I do really appreciate, again, to you, Lucas, for taking the time to come on. Like I said, it is obviously your last day as well, and it's been a long podcast. I think this is actually going to be the longest one that I've actually done so far. But I'm very happy with it, because I've just enjoyed having a chat with you, having a conversation about everything. I mean, we started it off with something that I didn't think we were going to talk about, which was obviously the Hillsborough disaster. And I think one of the things that's so fascinating about your life in particular is that all these little things throughout your life seem to have played a part, either big or small, in where you are right now. You know, from the Hillsborough disaster with your uncle and having that wallet, which your dad ended up giving you, and you had the big, you won the big money, and then the 11-year-old story, and just everything about it just seems like this was essentially made for you. Even the selling the sweets earlier on, like that entrepreneurial spirit, and and the Robin thing and just everything together. And that's what I love about this story and why I'm so happy. And I can't wait to get this podcast uploaded. Sorry, I've actually got two questions.
No, it's all good, man.
Before I give my final question, these are like, I just want to ask you this, right? This is a random question, okay? What would you say is your favorite meal?
Good question. So on the yearbook, it says favorite meal, spaghetti and meatballs. When I was 11, setting that picture in my yearbook, and I'd say that is. But if I was gonna go for a restaurant, I'd like a nice steak, nice fillet steak, chips, peppercorn sauce. Yeah, I think.
You've got money now when you're going from meatballs and pasta to doing steak and peppercorn sauce.
But this is the thing: if my mum was making it, if I was coming back to my mum's and she was like, "I'm making you tea," again, it'd be my mum's meatballs and pasta. Like, yeah,
is that good?
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
Again, like on that on my yearbook there, it's not changed since I was 11 years old. It was I said when I was 11, which is crazy to say again. My teachers must have been looking at this thinking, who is this lad's parents?
Letting you watch
Step Brothers, and he wants to be a poker player, and he's 11.
The exact same thing.
But this just sums up how mad my mum and dad. And this is the thing, when people are like, no, I'm not letting. I had mates that I was playing like Call of Duty when I was like 12 years old with my dad, and like people are like, no, I'm not letting them play when I was till 18. But it's like, come on, like obviously it's gonna affect some people, but it actually made me. I think it probably made me closer and like bonds with my family more because like I'd done everything that I looked up to with my dad. Like we watched Star Wars, like he's a biggest Star Wars fan, so I grew up loving Star Wars. But yeah, Step Brothers for me. I'd say Lord of the Rings as well.
I recently watched that. Yeah, it was good.
That's my favorite trilogy. If I was going to choose a trilogy, but in terms of actual film that I could just watch over and over again, like I watched it, which is crazy. Again, we moved in the flat. We didn't have any Sky or anything like that, and we just put on a random channel, and Step Brothers was starting, and I was just like, it's
like your life is just like someone's just planning it along.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in like the Truman Show or something like that. It's weird. But yeah, I just love I love Step Brothers. Like,
I was hoping you wouldn't. Well, it's interesting with the thing about your parents letting you play older games, because I was allowed to play older games as well, and I didn't play with my dad. My dad wasn't into that. Yeah. He was always extremely busy, always working. Had 2 jobs for the majority of his life, and then now he works 6 days a week as a business. He owns a takeaway. But I was always allowed to play older games as well, and you said that it helped you form a bond with your dad. For me, I always feel like because I played like GTA when I was like 11 or 12. It helped me learn more about the world and at a younger age, and it matured me more because I found out about these things at a really young age, and I feel like it has actually had a positive impact on my life. And you'll always get people where it has a negative impact, like when you find out court cases where people that have shot up a building or whatever, they used to play games and whatever. That is always going to happen. You're always going to have people. And if they weren't triggered by the games, they would have been triggered by something else on TV. Unless you want to get rid of every form of entertainment, it would happen.
It's obviously them type of people. Obviously, they have some sort of mental health issue where there was something that was going to trigger it. It's like saying don't drink alcohol because you'll turn. So it's like saying don't play poker if you've got like gambling addictions. Like the people that like it's completely different to
exactly
like someone who's obviously not like people do have mental health issues, and obviously then that's gonna playing something like Xbox or doing something like playing poker, gambling, or drinking. That's gonna obviously they've got an addictive personality, something like that. That's gonna kind of not be good for them. But I feel like for obviously for most people, like I've grew up with friends that have mental health issues. Such would like I'm so lucky that I haven't, because obviously I know people that have, and it's one of them where if you obviously got a stable like parents, family, and or you're stable like yourself, and it's like you said, it's kind of like you can turn it into positive rather than a negative. So
100%.
I never had any issues with that. Like you said, it's kind of probably matured me more than anything, and rather than kind of work the opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of ruined the questions I was asking. You know, when I was asking about the meal and the movie, I was purposefully asking the questions from that year. Like, I was hoping you would have noticed or something. But I'm sure you've seen it so many times that you remember. So am I right in saying that your best holiday is still your auntie's wedding to Mexico?
Best holiday. No, it was good. That was good. I was still quite young. I've had some good ones since then. Probably the highlight would be Vegas for my 21st
Oh
birthday.
yeah.
That was amazing. That was again, I didn't really party. Like, I was with my dad and my uncle, and we didn't party. It was more just playing poker. I just went out and played poker every day. Didn't Because the thing is with Vegas, if you gamble, you play poker, you get free alcohol drinks, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't really drink because I was concentrating on playing poker, and again, I've done well there. And I think I won like 3,500 profit, something like that. So
Wow.
it was I played good then. So that was kind of a highlight. I'm trying to think what else. In terms of special moment, I guess this is a holiday. I went to Madrid for the Champions League final
No
where we
way.
beat Spurs. So that was obviously something I've always dreamt of all my life. Is just
Champions League final. It's so hard
yeah,
to get those tickets as well.
yeah. So, and again, this is why my dad is just the legend he is. We got 3 season tickets in the cop, but we only got 2 tickets in the ballot. So he travelled to Madrid with me and my little brother, but he let me and my little brother go in and watch the final, and he watched it
Oh
in like
wow.
a pub. But he said he was at Istanbul, and he's been to a lot of finals, so he said it was our time to kind of watch Liverpool win the Champions League, so which we did, and again that was emotional. Again, something that I just dreamt of all my life, watching Liverpool
Did,
lift the Champions League.
did you guys know on the way there that your dad wouldn't have been able to go in?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So he told.
he told us, but he was going to try and. I thought he was be able to like get a ticket there because normally people are around the stadium where they're like selling tickets
Yeah, yeah.
and he was willing to pay like a certain amount, but there was no one, like they weren't letting anyone, and there was just no way. There was no way he was getting any form of ticket. So um, he ends up watching in a pub by the stadium, and then he had loads of Liverpool fans in there celebrating. So, but we actually done it on a day trip. So we actually arrived in the morning, and then kind of left that night. So that was just that, because then every year is just getting madder. So that was 2019. That was the same year I went to Vegas as well for my 21st birthday. So even that, I was like, it's just been a crazy
Going up
few
and up and up,
years.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad.
It's not
Yeah.
like your poker graph. It's just
Rafa, now I know.
yours is straight up. Fair
No,
play.
but
I mean,
obviously now there's going to be some down things in the future, but again, like you've got to turn them into a positive. Same with poker. So say there was times on put on the stream where I was making mistakes because I was tired and I wasn't playing the best I could. I just hold my hand. I'm just honest and just held my hands up. I'm like, listen, you've got to make these mistakes to learn in life, and same with anything. Like you've got to the negatives. You've got to turn into positive, and because if everything was always good, if everything was always positive, like you don't then appreciate because you think that's just the norm, right? But so there's some when times so like working in the chippies, working in like uni, I just hated. I just thinking back and I hated it, but that that motivated me to want to study, to want to get better at poker and achieve my dream. Because if everything was good, like my old job though, like I was comfortable. I was comfortable with my old job, but so I could have not like quit my job and gone for it. And I think this was I was speaking on the other podcast. It's like I was scared of the regret if I didn't do this, if I didn't go for this, and I was 50 years old and looked back and thought, "Oh, wish I would have gone for that." People are more scared of the rejection rather than that regret. And for me, I'm more scared of the regret in a few years' time rather than the rejection, because what's the
100%.
worst case scenario? I would have got a Twitch world record. And then I would have had to go back to my job, which I thought I was going to have to do, but I still would have played poker on the side and still tried to make it eventually. But and that's not a bad case scenario. Worst case scenario as well was obviously losing my whole bankroll. Right, was losing the $8,000, but then in poker you have these companies that like stake you as well, so they give you the money to go into tournaments, and then you just give them like 50% of the profits, stuff like that, right? So there was options for that as well if needed. But again, that's not an option I wanted to go into, because say if I won that 22,000, I had to give away 50%. That's a lot of money, $11,000. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've always strongly believed that. I think the saying is something like, the feeling of rejection is temporary, but the feeling of regret is permanent.
yeah, 100%.
Because when you're 80 years old, you're not gonna think about the time you lost something or you got rejected for something else. You're gonna be thinking about, oh, I should have done this. I should have
Yeah.
gone that. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if you didn't do the poker stream, right? And you ended up, okay, yes, you worked for a poker company and you managed other poker players, and yeah, it would have been a great life. But imagine at the end of it, you're 65 and you're thinking, I could have been one of those poker players instead.
Exactly. Like,
And it's
why
it's
not?
just exactly, you would have thought, but it's the fact that you went for it, and that just bodes in well for the final question that I've got. Usually, I ask people, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? But that's only like you 3 years younger. So instead, I'm going to ask you a different question: is what advice would you give to people of a similar age to you, maybe slightly younger, maybe slightly older, or maybe really older, who have a passion like you, and essentially, I don't know, like, they want to be able to enjoy what they do for a living? What advice would you give to them?
Just put a plan together. Like, obviously, like, there's stuff like I didn't do a 10-hour stream to prepare for this. I'd never done poker full time, but there's things that you can't plan, and you just got to not think about, just got to go for it. But I did plan this challenge for a good 6 months. I was thinking about this challenge for a whole year. I was obviously been studying poker since I was 18, and obviously kind of like manifested the idea of doing this since I was 11 years old. So and the thing is, if it's something, obviously it's about being realistic, right? There's certain things like being a footballer, like, at a certain age, you're not going to be able to make it in football, genetics wise, like you're just not, right. But stuff like that I'm doing, like poker wise, or say if it's just something that you want to get into where you've got to go and do a degree for 3 years, whatever, or masters, you've just got to put a plan together and just be like, and just follow other people that have succeeded in that, because again, if they can do it, there's no reason for you to not. And people probably do have excuses, and this is what I mean about, like, society is a very negative. Everyone realizes how negative it's just the society as a whole is, that it's the people are very quick to come to the negative things, and this is why I love coming on these podcasts, because I love people like you that are just positive and like want to know story about someone's like journey, because people are very quick to jump on and be like, and brush it down. You know what I mean? Whereas you just need to. I just looked up at all the poker players and poker streamers and was like, right, what can I do that they're doing? I looked at the poker players. So I'm good friends with someone who's sponsored by another company. His name is Finton. He's Irish. He's like 30. So he started when he was 22. He was full time. I looked at him and started to kind of surround myself with him and ask him questions and be like, and now we're good friends. And I always said to my girlfriend, I was like, if I know I'll become good mates with him if we ever got closer, because he's someone I respect and looked up to. And it's, again, mad that I'm good friends with him and he's given me so much advice and help. And I'm using kind of the same coaches as he's using now. But again, I just kind of tried to replicate what he was doing. I tried to, like, what is he doing that I can then kind of follow. So that's what I did, and yeah, and it's kind of worked out. And that's obviously not going to be not going to work for everything. Instead of copying someone, but again, it's not like I'm copying the exact things that they're doing. I'm obviously bringing something then new to the table, where doing this challenge, which no one's ever done before. Like I said, becoming the GG's first ever UK streamer, potentially being the first ever lad from Liverpool that sponsored poker player. I don't know whether that's true but yeah, I mean, and just kind of put my own stamp on it. And like I said, I've got now big ambitions. I'm not just like, right, I'm done now. I want to become one of the biggest poker players and well-known poker streamers in the world. And now I've got this platform. I'm not gonna. I know I'm in a lucky position to have this now, where I can just keep going up and up, if you get me. So yeah, you just work hard. Just work hard. If you're a good person, I believe good things happen to good people. I think if you're actually And surround yourself with positive people as well. Like I said, my old friends I found would kind of hold me back in terms of, like I said, they're very negative, and you're just not going to get anywhere in life surrounding yourself with negative people. So that's something that I've really found has been very beneficial for me, is just surrounding myself with positive people. Because like I said, I don't feel like you're probably not going to achieve. Like a prime example. When I was 18, I called it robbing poker. I didn't tell any of my friends because I was just too ashamed and I was embarrassed. Now I'm streaming to 2,500 people, and you know what I mean, and I love it. And the people around me, my friends, my family, the people that I've met through the stream are so positive and lovely about it. And yeah, so yeah, just kind of work. Main things is work hard. Just try and be a good person. I just that why would you not want to try and be a good person, and just try and just try and surround yourself with positive people.
Oh, brilliant. I've not got much else to add, to be fair. Like I said, hopefully I really do hope, and I do actually believe that you will go on to do bigger and even better things, bigger games, going hopefully all over the world when the pandemic is over, to play as well. And hopefully a year from now, I'm still trying to be as consistent as possible with this podcast. And a year from now, I don't say this to all my guests. I've only actually ever said it to one of the guests. But a year from now, I'm gonna put it in my Google Calendar where I want to get you on again, Lucas, and I want to hear what you've been doing in the last year. Hopefully go on more holidays with your girlfriend, because she definitely deserves it after the 100-day challenge. And maybe even taking your dad somewhere. I mean, hopefully by that time your dad's finally admitted that he is unfortunately the second best Robinson poker player there is, or maybe he's gone on to do even better things. Maybe we can do a podcast with him as well, and you, sure. And we could all have a chat together. But it's been a real pleasure. Like I said several times, I do massively appreciate people like yourself coming on. Again, it's a small podcast. I can't really offer you much, but I hope I've given you an engaging conversation and just a chance to just talk about whatever you feel like. And when I have it uploaded and ready to upload, which should be over in the next month or so, this month it should be uploaded, and I'll send you the links. And if you can share it on your socials, on whatever, then I just massively appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you very much, Lucas. And yeah, I don't know. That's it. I just really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, man. Yeah, like I said, it's only my second ever podcast, and it's just kind of, like I said, I'm just in this very privileged position to be invited to something like this, and like I said, you said it's a small podcast, but again, like I've had so many people that have supported me in my stream of starting it up, and if I can help in some way of helping your kind of thing, and because you've took your time to send me a nice message to invite me on here and for me to share my story, it's like I said, I just love coming on this type of stuff. Like I said, this is only my second one. Just to try and if you know one person gets inspired by this, watching this, for me, then that's just an amazing feeling. And it's for sure. In a year's time, hopefully we'll do it again, and
in a hopefully better, more world without this pandemic as well. And hopefully, I'm sure someone in your audience as well, in particular, someone who's got an interest in poker, people that have been inspired by you already, will hopefully get some value off this podcast. Because I guess it's an opportunity to hear from you without the stress of a poker game in front of you, and having to deal with that. It's just like a bit more relaxed, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. I'll leave you to it. Again, I'm really sorry that it's taken. I don't know how long this has ended up.
No, don't be silly, man.
But I've massively enjoyed it. It's definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite, podcasts that I've done. Just because it was just easy to bounce off of you, and I can't believe it's your second ever podcast. I'm sure there'll be a lot more to come next time, in a year's time, when we record.
Sure, man.
But yeah, I really appreciate it, mate. Have a great evening.
You too, man.
And I'm looking forward to what you produce over the next year as well. Take care.
Thanks, man. You too. Speak to you soon, brother.
Yeah,
cheers,
bye.
Cheers.
And that is it for this week's episode. Wow. I never thought I would actually appreciate the complexities of the game of poker. I just had a quick look back, and even now when I'm thinking about it, bloody hell, poker's a confusing game. The amount of maths that's involved, the amount of studying that's involved. Fair play to him, and I'm just extremely happy for him. The fact that he is he gets to do what he wants to do for a living, which I guess is something that we all want, and hopefully we can all achieve one day. I will definitely leave the links to some of my favorite content from Lucas, especially that video that if you want to see the whole thing, is the most wholesome video ever. Of just seeing him, you can just see the relief, like I sort of talked about in the episode. And thank you to Lucas as well. He didn't have to come on the podcast. I can't really offer much. As we all know, it's a tiny podcast. Like, I've got 10 people probably listening right now. But he came on. It was the last day of his vacation, and I massively appreciate it. I also, I don't know if you noticed, I was drinking a little bit of Diet Coke towards the end of that, and well, actually in the middle, to be fair. And that's because I was actually fasting whilst I recorded that video. And I broke my fast with the Diet Coke. But I didn't want to end the episode. I was enjoying the conversation that I was having with Lucas, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to reject food. Which, I mean, if anyone knows me, rejecting food, like, man's a bit of a fatty, so rejecting food is a big thing. Okay. But I rejected it because it was such a good episode, and like I said, it was all worth it in the end. So if you did enjoy the episode, then let us know by sharing us on your social medias and tagging at MMHY Podcast on Instagram. And please do hit that like button. I said it in the last episode. The like button is nothing to do with the YouTube algorithm and what all these big YouTubers say. It just makes me feel good. So I'd really appreciate it if you do. And let me know in the comments below what was your favorite part of the podcast, or give me a message and tell me that you watched it all, because I do really appreciate that. And subscribe as well. I don't know actually who we're actually having on next week, but it'll be a good one because all the MMHY podcast episodes are good. So make sure you subscribe for that. And so, yeah, have a great week. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.